What appears to be a blow to firearms ownership in Canada may actually be a property rights issue and, by extension, the economy. There's a recent case that took place at a federal court in Canada, and the advocates lost in this one. The CCFR reporting the federal court upholds the order in council gun ban in a decision announced today by Justice Kane of the Federal Court of Canada. She ruled that the order in council is upheld. Now, what is an order in council? Is that going through the process of the parliamentary process? Making a law, having a bill get signed into law, have our representatives vote on it, go to the Senate, have representatives there discuss and debate over what's happening. No, this is an order in council. This is a dictate by the Prime Minister's office. This is how we're going to essentially make laws nowadays. In the coming days, we'll analyze the decision and determine whether or not an appeal is likely to succeed. Stand by for more detailed announcements as we analyze the decision. We promised we would fight in this unjust and irresponsible action by this Liberal Party government, and we will continue to do just that until every avenue and opportunity is exhausted. We would like to thank all of the members and supporters of the CCFR for their support and trust throughout this campaign. Monitor ccfr.ca and the CCFR's social media accounts for further announcements. Read more from the link down here. I'll leave a link in the description so you guys can check all of this out for yourself. This is the CCFR versus Canada decision. The federal court upholds the order in council. Now, this may go up to a higher court, but this is something that'll be determined at a later date. Now, let's get into, what was this case all about? The CCFR had a really good animation here to talk about just what was going on and what this court battle was about. This was prior to, so if it says upcoming case, this is why the case has already been established. So here's the video.
Gun owners are suing the Canadian government. What's this all about, and why should anyone else care? 2 reasons. It's going to be a historic case, and it's going to have an effect on every Canadian citizen. The fight between licensed gun owners and the government is about what the government is able to do to its citizens legally. Apparently, Canadians don't have property rights. This seems to be the verdict from other historic cases on the subject. But what does this mean for people who don't own guns? It means that currently, the government can decide without any real justification that something you own should be illegal and will be confiscated. The way the law is today.
Now, this is very important because we have a lot of other contentious issues at the time, not just firearms in Canada. And this is kind of the canary in the coal mine when it comes to property rights. As the government gets more and more heated in their rhetoric about climate change and certain other things, at what point are they going to be able to just, by decree, order in council, mind you, this is not a situation where, again, that they went through the parliament and they decided with our elected representatives to put forward a motion, a bill, and turn it into a law. No, this is the Prime Minister of Canada coming in and saying, this type of product is illegal now to hold. What happens if climate change makes it so you're no longer legally allowed to own your automobile? You're no longer legally allowed to own a furnace, wood stove, a number of different items. I mean, your imagination is your limits, right? The sky's the limit on this. When they're able to do this just by decree, this becomes a very dangerous situation.
Today, this can apply to anything: your land, your bank account, your car, anything you legally own. And under any pretense, climate, emergency, pandemic, public safety, the economy, literally anything. We are in the midst of a historic gun ban. It equates to a massive confiscation of property from hundreds of thousands of people who legally acquired it. These RCMP-vetted Canadians are licensed to own these firearms and are inherently responsible.
So for further context on that one, for Americans, I know about 20 to 30% of the viewing audience here are Americans. This is, again, another canary in the coal mine moment. The licensing in Canada is quite strict when it comes to firearms. We do not have a Second Amendment. There is no guaranteed right to bear arms in Canada. So instead, we have to go through a rigorous licensing process for what are known as long guns or non-restricted firearms, which, by the way, AR-15s, things like that, they've been put on the prohibited list in Canada. You cannot own them. If you owned them before and they, in ordering council, decided that they were illegal, you overnight, as a law-abiding citizen, became a criminal. This is the way it's been going. Handguns have been banned in Canada, essentially. They put a freeze on selling and acquiring handguns in Canada. And not to mention, if you previously wanted to have handguns in Canada, you had to go through an even further licensing program that would allow for even the RCMP to do random searches of your home with only 24 hours notice. This is how strict and crazy the gun laws here are in Canada. So by no means are Canadians that are firearms owners, just random people picking up guns here and there. Doesn't work that way. And I know it doesn't work that way in the U.S., but it is far stricter in Canada for firearms ownership. So these are all vetted through the police. The RCMP do a background check on you when you get your license, and you can't skirt that. You just can't.
Government hasn't felt an obligation to justify it other than with political sloganeering and highlighting the acts of criminals who are already banned from possessing firearms in the first place.
That's right.
Today, it's about legally purchased firearms, but tomorrow, it might be about something you own or a right you value. If you don't want to fight this on your own later, get involved in this fight now. Be a part of history and donate what you can to the CCFR's Legal Trust.
And they are still fighting. Marty up north put out here another blow to the rights and freedoms. A federal court upheld Trudeau's gun ban via his order in council. The governor in council does not owe a duty of procedural fairness to firearms owners affected by the regulations. Now, this is the quote. This is the quote from this. This is a nasty precedent, says Marty here. Trudeau can pass laws without going to the House of Commons, and he can assign arbitrary legislative powers to unelected officials, in this case, the RCMP. Think about that. The RCMP makes the rules and then enforces the rules. That sounds like a dictatorship, an oligarchy, something like that. Yeah, that's probably the case. Now, going back to that quote, the Governor Council does not owe a duty of procedural fairness to firearms owners affected by the regulations. Put that in any other context. The Governor General, or the Governor in Council, does not owe a duty of procedural fairness to homeowners affected by the regulations. The Governor in Council does not owe a duty of procedural fairness to automobile owners affected by the regulations. You could go across the board. These are laws that are put in place through order in council, through the government decree of the Prime Minister's office. This is clearly unfair, and it's clearly disappointing to see this in this case. Now, Rod Giltaca took to Twitter with the CCFR to make this video. I was going to show a clip of it, but of course I'll leave a link in the description where you can check it out in its entirety.
Hey everybody, by now most of you have heard that we have a decision in CCFR versus Canada. If you have heard, you're probably aware that Justice Kane of the federal court has ruled against us on every aspect of our application. There was a few of them. We've had a little bit of time to review her decision, and needless to say, I think we're all very dissatisfied with it, as you can imagine. Within the next 24 to 48 hours, the CCFR will have made our decision on whether or not to apply for an appeal. And the way that it looks right now, we most likely will file an appeal without delay, so keep an eye out for that. Now, many of you may have seen some of the quotes from Justice Kane's decision floating around, among them that the government owes no procedural fairness to individual gun owners. and I guess by extension, all Canadians. And that was a pretty concerning statement, in my opinion, especially when you think that the judiciary is your only alternative when the government decides it's within its rights to take whatever it wants from anybody it wants, whenever it wants, whether or not it provides a reason or evidence for that decision. I don't know. Also, oddly enough, the judge didn't seem to have a problem with the RCMP Firearms Laboratory reclassifying firearms, for example, from non-restricted to prohibited at their own discretion and notifying nobody. That's something that could literally land a licensed gun owner in jail for nothing, for no reason. Apparently, that is a non-issue to the judiciary. And that in itself makes me uneasy about a lot of things in Canada. I'll just leave that there. But anyway, one of the things that we said all along is that if we were to lose this action on the overreach of government or the property rights issues or the protection of life issues, that at least we would have the answers to those questions as Canadians. Well, I guess now we have the answers. Or at least we have those answers as Justice Kane sees them. So I think every Canadian should be very concerned with the implications of this decision and some of the verbiage in there. Now, while I'm at it, I would also like to say that I'm really proud of the way that we approach this case, or rather, how you all allowed us to approach this case, in that we had the best team money could buy. We simply didn't show up and put in an application and then sit back and wait for 3.5 years for a verdict. That's not how we approached it. The CCFR filed 3 injunction applications with a couple of the other groups as well, including one to have use of our property during the whole process of this judicial review. That one was expensive, and it would have been nice to win that one, but I guess discharging those firearms that we've owned for all this time at an approved shooting range would have been too great a threat to public safety, so we didn't win that one. We also cross-examined every one of the government's affiants. We cross-examined and blocked the government's interveners. We paid for the entire trial transcript, which was not cheap, and made all the transcripts available to the public, our entire community, not just CCFR supporters. We put millions of dollars into this case, and I think that we did it right thanks to all of you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll leave a link in the description down below where you can check out the whole video itself. It goes on for another few minutes. And also a page where you can donate to the CCFR and stand up for rights. Now, where this could turn into a big debacle in the economy is by extension. Property rights is the most important thing for any economy, any sort of market economy, unless you're talking about communism, which is the absence of property rights. We hold these rights dear, and they're dear for a specific reason. We're not going to get people to invest in our country if there is no guarantee that their property is theirs. And this is a big problem. I've talked about this many times on the channel. But if we engage in what's known in economic circles as regime uncertainty, this is the practice where governments can confiscate property. We're not going to have investors come into our country. We need to ensure to people who want to invest in Canada that they will be able to keep their property. That's absolutely the thing. And this even includes, this isn't just about foreigners investing in Canada. This is about Canadians investing in Canada. Many Canadians with money, with liquid assets, are taking their assets and they're moving them outside of Canada to invest in other countries. This is something that we can't have if we want to have a vibrant economy going into the future. This is going to be a real issue in Canada. So property rights are some of the most important things in a free and fair country, and especially when it comes to economics. Without property rights, there is no market economy. So I'll leave you with that. Leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think about all of this, and we'll see you in the next one. Keep on trucking.